Muscogee Media presents What is Blood Quantum? Every Muscogee Creek Nation tribal citizenship card has a notation for blood quantum, but this notation is not determined by scientific analysis or genetic DNA testing. What is the origin of blood quantum in relation to MCN citizenship, and how is it determined? Tribal citizenship in the Muscogee Creek Nation is defined in the MCN Constitution, Article 3, Section 2 as, quote, persons eligible for citizenship in the Muscogee Creek Nation shall consist of Muscogee Creek Indians by blood, whose names appear on the final rolls as provided by the Act of April 26, 1906, and persons who are lineal descendants of those Muscogee Creek Indians by blood whose names appear on the final rolls as provided by the Act of April 26, 1906, except that an enrolled member of another Indian tribe, nation, band, or pueblo shall not be eligible for citizenship in the Muscogee Creek Nation, end quote. The act mentioned in the passage is entitled An Act to Provide for the Final Disposition of the Affairs of the Five Civilized Tribes in the Indian Territory, and for other purposes. This act, passed by the United States Congress, established a date for the closing of the final rolls of the citizens and freedmen of the Five Civilized Tribes, also known as the Dawes Rolls. The Dawes Rolls were compiled by the Dawes Commission, which did so for the purposes of establishing land claims during the allotment process. In order for individuals to enter the Dawes Rolls, they had to fill out an application for an enrollment card. Blood quantum was determined by the Dawes Commission based on an application submitted by each individual that would include various documents such as birth records and death records. If approved, the individual would be entered into the roll with a notation of tribal affiliation, roll number, name, age, sex, blood, and card number. Individuals were not allowed to enroll in more than one tribe. The blood notation on this roll was the blood quantum later found in tribal citizenship enrollment and qualifications. There were issues with this process due to its implementation. According to the Oklahoma Historical Society, quote, the series of problems with this group of records stems from certain individuals or families being enrolled by the federal courts, which did not have the jurisdiction to determine who was a citizen and who was not. Moreover, many non-citizens were enumerated who were in fact intruders residing within a particular tribe. The tribal officials fought the enrollment and enumeration and contested the right of the federal courts in Indian Territory conferring tribal citizenship. After much debate, the Secretary of the Interior wisely sided with the tribes. Thus, the census and enrollment of 1896 was disregarded and would not be used as a basis for enrollment within the tribes. With the latest defensive move by the tribes, the commissioners representing the Dawes Commission sought congressional assistance to force the five civilized tribes to negotiate agreements to prepare a final roll and eventual allotment of lands. In June 1898, the Curtis Act was passed by Congress, which forced the tribes to treat with the Dawes Commission. The 1896 enrollments were scrapped due to inaccurate data. Unfortunately, those individuals who had citizenship conferred by the federal courts were in most cases not notified that their citizenship had been overturned. This led to a variety of legal issues that ultimately prevented large segments of non-citizens from being enrolled by the commission, as only the tribes had the authority to determine who was a citizen. End quote. Blood quantum requirements currently limit the number of MCN citizens that can hold office in the tribal government. According to the MCN Constitution, Article 3, Section 4, quote, full citizenship in the Muscogee Creek Nation shall be those persons and their lineal descendants whose blood quantum is 1/4 or more Muscogee Creek Indian, hereinafter referred to as those of full citizenship. All Muscogee Creek Indians by blood who are less than 1/4 Muscogee Creek Indian by blood shall be considered citizens and shall have all rights and entitlement as members of the Muscogee Creek Nation except the right to hold office, end quote. These requirements for citizenship are constitutional and would require a vote of all MCN citizens to be amended.